Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why I don't like Mondays.
So tell me why I don't like Mondays. Well, love them or hate them, they're the start of the week, and that's a great time to think about new ideas. So welcome to this, a new series called The Perioperative Coach. In this series, we have top tips on all aspects of perioperative care from some of the world's experts working together to enhance surgical recovery. Don't forget to look on the show notes on topmedtalk.com for additional links to papers, etc. And of course, if you haven't done it already, subscribe to Top Med Talk. Top Med Talk. So I want to jump now. You've said, Tim, that the fluid management, which was a very, very hot issue traditionally, less chatter about that because there seems to be general consensus. And although we had some very complex discussions in putting together the fluid management paper, as we did with the other ones, probably not as lively as bowel prep and what's in your carbohydrate drink. But I think we're all very proud of the results. I think there's some great infographics in that paper. I think the key take-home message is the gap between drinking and drinking should be as short as possible. So well hydrated orally up to the last minute preoperatively, get a bit of carbohydrate in there to give some energy, and then get that IV down as soon as possible post-op. I think everyone agreed that we should only give fluid using a goal-directed approach. I'll come back to what that means in a second. And minimising that maintenance fluid, that kind of traditionally we had that 10 or 20 mils per kilo per hour of salt-rich fluid, and we're all continue to laugh at the iconic potato chip slides, from people like Andy Shaw, John Kellum, and other versions of it, with perhaps up to 25 bags of salt equivalent of potato chips per litre of fluid that patients get they didn't need. So I'm just going to bring us, so if people look on the infographics there, just want to touch on that the goal-directed bit, because we had some great discussions about the fact, and I think it was Stuart McCluskey has pointed out at one stage that obviously all fluid administration should be goal-directed, but goal-directed doesn't mandate cardiac output measurement in all patients. And in the paper, people will find a reiteration of this risk-adapted matrix that is in one of your earlier publications, Tim. Could you talk us through that? In other words, we're not going to put invasive cardiac output measurement in all of our patients. There has to be some targeted use.
Yeah, I think you've summarised it very nicely, Monty. I think the fact that fluids are drugs, and I think we increasingly appreciate now that fluids can cause benefit as well as harm, and we have to, every time we're going to give some fluid, we have to weigh up the benefits against the risks, so that we have to have goals. And as you say, in the more simpler patients, these goals can be, maintaining euvolemia, using blood pressure, heart rate, more traditional monitors that we would use. And obviously, as the complexity of the surgery increases, as the patients get sicker, then we may want to advance these goals and use more of a goal-directed approach using cardiac output monitors. And I think that was a very nice message that was clearly stated in the paper.
So if I can describe the infographic, one axis is patient risk and one axis is surgery magnitude. And there's some infographics include some visualization about how much bleeding might be happening. And then at the top right-hand corner, highest risk of patient, greatest surgery is all of your monitoring. Et cetera, and at the bottom, the other corner is minimal monitoring. Putting it crudely, I think that's was the consensus at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely, and there are still some providers who feel that fluid restriction is...
Who forgot to turn their phone off?
The life of the Vice President.
I've learnt a valuable message about going on radio. So there are some people that feel that fluid restriction and avoiding liberal use of fluids can be the correct approach in every patient. And I was really interested yesterday that we touched on a new paper that came out from MGH, which is published in the Annals of Surgery, which again, similar to the work that you did with Julie Thacker, show that there is, in reality, from a database of 90,000 patients, there is a U-shaped curve. And particularly they looked at the renal signal, and the incidence of AKI went up significantly in the group that had the lowest quartile of fluid. So that U-shaped curve that was originally described by Bellamy is real, and we need to get patients in that sweet spot and not just restrict fluids. And I think goal-directed therapy has a significant evidence base now that is the best way to do that.
So MGH is the Mass General Hospital? Is that right?
Mass General, yeah. Big hospital in Boston.
Internationally famous hospital.
Thanks for downloading and listening to Top Med Talk. Don't forget to find us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, even got our own YouTube channel. Whichever your favourite social media feed is, we're bound to be there. Find us. Also, subscribe to this podcast so that you never miss an episode. And make sure you go to the Top Med Talk website, topmedtalk.com, and get on board with the email updates. Oh, whilst you're at it as well, I suggest you download our entire back catalogue. We're categorising it at the moment. We're having a little look through it. It may not always be in the form that you currently find it. So if you get your hard drive ready for a full-on download via the website perhaps, or perhaps through your podcatcher. Oh, and if you fancy meeting us, why not go to the website ebpom.org/meetings. Our next big event is EBPOM USA, the Dallas Masters Course, a perioperative care practicum. Have a look for details of that and some of the other meetings coming up across the next year. ebpom.org/meetings.